अब आपकी दुआओं और बहुत से लोगों के बेहद सलाह पर मैं ज़िशान साहब आपसे गुफ्तगू और आपस की खास बातें करने आ रहा हूँ एवरी संडे एट 6 p.m. ज़िशान ऑन एयर में बहुत मजा आएगा। आप लुकिंग फॉरवर्ड।
The following is a paid program. The views, opinions, and information expressed in this program are not necessarily that of Sangeet Radio or Rajput Media Services.
Hello everyone, Assalamu alaikum and good evening. This is Zishan Isaac on Zishan On Air Radio, right here on FM 95.1 and 1460 AM, and live streaming all over the world through social media, Facebook Live and YouTube Live. So I would like to welcome all of you. First of all, we will discuss the elections. I know a lot of people are very disappointed and a lot of people are very excited. The US 2024 elections were definitely not short of any kind of shock and awe. Sometimes we have seen those campaigns, especially when we have seen past presidents, especially some Republican presidents, bombing Iraq or Afghanistan, and they use that term, shock and awe. So a lot of people were shocked and disappointed. However, 326, that's the magic number in terms of electoral votes that President-elect Trump has received. And on the other hand, there is definitely a sentiment and that many Americans, and especially a lot of Americans, not just Democrats, but also those who thought that Kamala Harris, she only got 107 days. So she did a wonderful job, I would say, in those 107 days in terms of campaigning. Yes, she could have done this and that. And obviously, a lot of people are also very disappointed because the margins, even in cities, were very narrowed, or in some cases, Trump from 2020 increased his numbers in suburban or urban areas. And Latino voters, let me just tell you, Biden won Latino voters by 23%. These are some of the numbers. And Trump won by 12%. And 53 senators, so they control the Senate. And then they also got control of the House. So now there are no checks and balances, unfortunately, because whenever there are some checks and balances, then it becomes a very vibrant democracy. Two issues, especially two issues, economy, cost of living, and then number two, immigration, which I will talk about it in a minute. Those were the two major issues that literally moved voters toward Trump, and he got the popular vote as well. And about 75 million based on last reports. They're still counting the votes, so that's great. Let each and every vote count. Hindsight is always 2020. Some argue that President Biden should also take some blame. He's the president. The buck stops with the president, and that blame, because a lot of people, and there's a chatter that he should have give up or resigned. In terms of leading the party, not resign as a president, but leading the party during the primaries. But then he were forced into, and then the donor money dried up, and then obviously he should have passed that baton earlier. So it was too late. Well, again, hindsight is always 2020. So she was given 107 days to campaign, and then she did her best as a human. And as a human, humans made mistakes. And she also made some mistakes, and that proved to be fatal politically, and couldn't recover from it going into the elections 2024 in terms of how she would be different than the Biden presidency, because Biden's approval ratings were not good. His disapproval ratings were really high. So disapproval ratings, when those are high, definitely the incumbent party takes a hit, and that also happened. Then some Latinos, and they also talked about in terms of that Democrats are not offering nothing more than the woke agenda. So this is a wake-up call now for the Democratic Party. We have to get back to the basics. I'm obviously a big proponent of democracy, and I'm a Democrat, and I'm a common sense Democrat. I vouch for common sense policies. I vouch for policies that actually benefit people, and that has been the hallmark of my political struggle as well. So we'll talk about one of the results of the Fort Bend County as well, where I reside. And then in terms of the aspect of some numbers, so without further ado, the demographics data, in fact, will be shared in a couple of weeks from all the states. So we will know the demographics in terms of who and what groups, and how Asian Americans versus Latinos versus whites versus non-college degree holders from the white community, and then how blacks and then other communities, how they have voted. So those numbers in terms of solid numbers will come in a few weeks. So this is definitely an introspection moment, because this was a very serious defeat in terms of losing the presidency in 2025, right? And then Senate, and then obviously the House. Unfortunately, even in 2026, there are very few number of Senate seats that will be up for election. So there is no way that Democrats can even gain Senate. I'm sorry to say, that's tough luck, or I would say not some positive news that you would like to hear. But my role is to make sure that we share the right information, and we share information that obviously helps people so they can be prepared. In terms of the numbers, the first one I would like to share, and those who are listening, we will discuss this more in a few minutes, but the first session obviously is in English. So I'm sharing this slide. This is where all these numbers are showing how young people played a key role, and then how people outside of US on elections seen on more dangerous than other countries, that US on balance, that how is the balance here in this country, and then is US less politically stable. So these are some of the numbers I'm showing. So a lot of countries, especially in the West, like UK, only less than 10% people consider that US is seen as more dangerous than similar countries. So the jury is out there. And then how the voters, in terms of young voters, voted. Younger adults are more likely to say that the US is more dangerous than other wealthy countries. So these are some hard facts, and this is from Pew Research. So I don't know if the Democratic Party was also looking into these kind of numbers too, because that was the sentiment. And then ideological differences in terms of younger voters versus older voters. And remember, Democratic Party is always very popular in younger voters. So these are some important numbers too. People on the left are more likely than those on the right to say US is more religious other than other nations. So there are some numbers there as well that I'm sharing on the screen here. Then this next slide is more in terms of how other countries like Israel and Poles and other countries, they are also viewing us comparable to other countries. So on the left, we see some of those numbers and countries. And then mixed views on whether US is more religious than other wealthy nations. So if you look at Sweden, France, UK, Netherlands, Germany, Spain, and most of the Western countries, very few numbers in single digits, and then some in mid-teens and onward. Only Greece gave a number which was a little bit higher, 56%. And then, so I'm sharing this here. And then this one here also talked about in terms of achievements, technology, entertainment, and military power. Obviously, in that, US was the favorite all across the world. So that shows that this is the strength of US, right? In technology, entertainment, and military might. Young adults are far less likely than other adults to say the US should play an active role in the world affairs. So extremely in favor of not playing, far less likely to play, that's 22%. Very likely 32%, 36%, and age 18 to 34 is only 9%. Imagine that US should not play a role in world affairs. So important numbers. Now I'm going to switch over to Fort Bend County results. Here you can see that even VP Kamala Harris, she got 178,000 votes. And in 2020, President Biden, and at that time Kamala Harris, she received from Fort Bend County 195,000 votes. So you can see 178,000 now, and in 2020, even in Fort Bend County, she got almost 200,000 votes, just shy of 5,000 votes. So you can see that Fort Bend County is primarily a blue county and considered as a royal blue county as well, heavily Democrat. But the numbers can be seen here. Very interesting, right? And then this time, obviously, the third parties, even Jill Stein in our county, Fort Bend County, only got 7,405 votes. So the data never lie. Data never lies, and it's in front of us. In terms of county attorney, she got 194,000. There are a few other people who got 194,000. So imagine our county attorney, and she was unopposed. She got 194,000, more than Kamala Harris. And then Eric Fagan, he won 170,000, just won by a few hundred votes, came really close. Then tax assessor Carmen Turner, she got 170,649 votes. And then Fort Bend County, Precinct 2, Daryl Smith won comfortably. It's royal blue precinct, I would say. Precinct 3, that was another important race. That's where I ran for commissioner as well. In this race for commissioner, we saw that Andy Myers, the incumbent since 1997, this was the position, the public position that we as Democrats thought that it would become a Democrat commissioner, or the position would belong to Democrat because we have the numbers. But unfortunately, what happened, as you all know in the media, Andy Myers retained the seat, and the nominee from the Democratic Party only got 30,000 votes. And I would say that I was one of the candidates, not the nominee. If I were the nominee, obviously the results would have been different. But this is another thing that the Fort Bend Democratic Party would need to reassess and think that we got to vet candidates properly. So Andy Myers won comfortably, 44,000 to only 30,000. And then Justice of the Peace for Precinct 4, Keisha Smith, Democrat, she won. And then Precinct 2, Japaula Kemp. And then one of the races that was very popular because of two candidates from our own community, the incumbent Nabil Shaikh, and then Ali Sheikhani. He was running, so I would just say that that race was also interesting, and Ali Sheikhani, he pulled it off and he won, and he basically received 39,936 votes, almost 40,000, and incumbent Nabil Shaikh, he received 36,000, so about 3,400, 3,500 votes, and the numbers would maybe increase or would maybe remain the same depending on, again, this is 65 or 66% of voter turnout and the ballots cast. And then in Constable Precinct 4, we obviously elected our constable, Democrat constable, and that's Patrick Quincy. So these are some hard numbers. And then obviously some of the things in terms of battleground counties, this is Fort Bend County is in fact 15 counties out of in their list in terms of the U.S. News and Report list that it was one of the battleground county as well. So we are actually one of the counties in battleground county, and we saw some interesting races here. And then obviously who lives in Fort Bend County? It's the nation's 5th largest city, which is Houston, adjacent to them, and Harris County is right next to us, and New York, Los Angeles, Chicago, Dallas, that's after them. Then Houston is there. So we are just adjacent to Houston, Fort Bend County, and some parts and some areas of Houston is also in Fort Bend County. And then one more thing I would like to point out, that it's also one of the fastest growing counties as well, and 8th most, I would say, in terms of population, 8th most populous county in Texas. 1/5 of Harris County's population, though, because Harris County is huge. And then some other facts I'm sharing here. Israel invaded Gaza, Gaza obviously after October 7th. So this is where Jill Stein, her policy was to make sure that she brings permanent ceasefire in Gaza and put an embargo of U.S. arms to Israel was seized upon by Muslim and Arab American communities. She got some of those votes. Some people voted for Trump as well, which we'll discuss it in a bit. But then again, in terms of the numbers, Jill Stein, she's 74. She finished anywhere between 0.4% and 0.9%. So just a shy of 1%, even less than 1%. So that's something to think about. US is a two-party system, and the best numbers that any party as a third party that showed was during the 90s under Ross Perot, Texas billionaire, when he ran from the Reform Party. So this is where a lot of people are saying, oh, the third party can play a role. But she did play a role, I would say, in Dearborn, Michigan. And that's where she got a lot of votes. And in terms of some numbers, she got 22% or so. And Biden did really well. He got like way ahead. I think got 40 or 50% in the Wayne County, and especially in Dearborn, Michigan. So she received 22% of the vote, and Kamala Harris only got 38% of the vote. But then again, she lost so many other battleground states as well. So one thing that I would like to share everyone on social media as well, because of economy, cost of living, and then the next is the immigration, where the Naturalization Act of 1798, President-elect Trump, on his inaugural day, he said that he's going to deport millions of illegal and undocumented non-citizens, and those obviously who couldn't get their process corrected. And the Naturalization Act of 1798, this was part of. So this was actually part of the Alien and Sedition Acts. So just to give you an idea where the president has the authority, and the president can imprison and deport non-citizens. And then how far President-elect Trump would go remains to be seen. But if you read the Naturalization Act of 1798, it is scary in itself, because that can also prolong the number of years that an immigrant will need to stay in the U.S. and then become a naturalized citizen. Right now it's 5 years, but it could range from 5 to 12 years or 14 years. Who knows? So the immigrants can go through a lot of scrutiny if President-elect Trump chooses to completely enact and even go beyond the law. Who knows? In terms of making America great again, because he got the mandate, and that's what they're saying, and that's the chatter. So I will leave you with that information. But at the same time, these are the facts and the data that I've shared. All I would say to our social media audience that we are living in land of the free and home of the brave, that we all are. So stay true to being free, at the same time fighting for our rights, fighting for everyone's rights, and at the same time we are home of the brave. So stay brave out there. I get it. I understand a lot of people that are still down and feeling disappointed, but I can tell you that together and holding each other up and supporting each other, and then listening and also communicating our thoughts and concerns and our point of views, those are important values and important areas that are needed in a functioning democracy. So remember that we are a democracy, and this would be another area where a lot of people all over the world are watching us. As VP Kamala Harris already said, that there will be a peaceful transfer of the power and the government to President-elect Trump, and then obviously she accepted and conceded to President Trump. So with that, stay hopeful, keep on fighting, and a time to introspect, time to look at locally as well, So we come back stronger. So we continue to work for the working class, because I do not completely agree with Senator Biden, although I was a Bernie fan, feel the burn, remember in 2016. So he did mention that the Democratic Party is losing the working class. In some cases, yes, it could be argued, but in some other cases, there were so many other factors as well that played into this particular election, especially when voters saw contrast in terms of economy, cost of living, as well as their wallets, and how 2016 to 2020, how they felt, and then how they felt between 2020 to 2024. So with that, I'm signing off, and stay tuned and continue to share this with everyone, and signing off from the social media.